India is a land where spirituality has shaped civilization for thousands of years. Long before modern science, long before great empires rose and fell, ancient sages, the rishis, wrote down teachings in the Vedas, Upanishads, and Puranas. These were not just religious writings. They were warnings, visions, and prophecies about how humanity would one day lose its way. Today, many believe those ancient predictions are unfolding before our eyes, from moral decline and corruption, to environmental destruction, to spiritual confusion and the rise of global conflicts. This documentary explores one of the most profound themes in Indian philosophy: how ancient Indian prophecies are repeating themselves in the modern world, and what lessons humanity is ignoring. The age of Kali begins. According to ancient Indian scriptures, time moves in great cycles called Yugas, each lasting thousands of years. The current age, known as the Kali Yuga, is described as the darkest and most spiritually weakened era in human history. It is said to be an age of confusion, moral decay, and a slow collapse of truth. The scriptures paint a clear picture of how this age begins. Dharma, the cosmic law of righteousness, stands on only one leg instead of four. This symbolizes a world where honesty becomes rare, compassion becomes weak, and spiritual understanding begins to fade. People lose touch with their inner selves. Materialism becomes the new religion. Many Indian scholars believe we are now deep into this age, and the signs described thousands of years ago match today's world with uncanny accuracy. The ancient texts predicted a time when people would be driven by greed, controlled by their desires, and blinded by ego. It speaks of an era when truth would be overshadowed by convenience, and when society would value power more than wisdom. In India, where spiritual traditions once guided everyday life, this shift is seen in many ways. Religion has become more ritualistic than transformative. Temples and holy sites remain crowded, but the purity of intention is often missing. Politicians use spirituality to gain influence. Corruption spreads even in sacred institutions. The moral compass of society slowly bends. The scriptures also warn that in the early stages of Kali Yuga, humanity would experience growing inequality, the rich becoming richer while the poor struggle harder. Conflicts would rise, and humans would lose respect for one another. Relationships would weaken, families would break apart, and trust would become fragile. Every year, India witnesses these cracks growing deeper, from rising divorce rates and family conflicts, to greedy leadership, to the erosion of traditional values that once held communities strong. Many believe this is exactly what the ancients foresaw, not the end of the world, but the end of truth's dominance. This chapter sets the foundation for the journey ahead, a look into how ancient Indian wisdom predicted the emotional, spiritual, and moral challenges of the time we are living in. The prophecy of moral decline. Ancient Indian texts, especially the Vishnu Purana and the Bhagavata Purana, describe the moral downfall of society in precise detail. They spoke of a time when righteousness would weaken, injustice would rule, and people would chase pleasures instead of principles. Today, many believe these warnings are not distant myths. They are accurate reflections of our present world. The scriptures predicted that leaders would lose integrity. They would focus less on serving the people and more on personal gain. In India, this can be seen in the widespread corruption scandals, dishonest political strategies, and a hunger for power that often overshadows public welfare. Leaders act not as protectors, but as opportunists, fulfilling exactly what the ancient texts warned. The sages also foresaw a time when money would become the ultimate measure of success. People would judge each other not by character, but by wealth, appearance, and status. This shift is evident today in India's growing obsession with materialism. Expensive weddings, luxury lifestyles, online fame, and competitive social comparisons. Values like humility, simplicity, and generosity, once core principles of Indian culture, are slowly fading. Another major prophecy concerns the breakdown of the family structure. The texts warned that children would stop respecting their parents, and parents would grow distant from their responsibilities. In modern India, the clash between traditional values and modern lifestyles has indeed strained relationships. Work pressure, urban life, and social media distractions have weakened emotional bonds within families. The scriptures also spoke of rising falsehood, where lies would be spoken more than truth, and people would manipulate information for personal gain. With the spread of digital media, misinformation and fake news are becoming everyday realities. People believe rumors more easily than verified facts. This erosion of truth is one of the clearest signs of Kali Yuga, described by ancient sages. Even spirituality, once the heart of Indian life, has been commercialized. The text predicted that religious leaders would become greedy, gaining wealth and fame instead of guiding people toward inner peace. Today, many self-proclaimed gurus run billion-dollar empires. Ashrams turn into businesses. Devotion becomes a product. This spiritual corruption is another exact match with the ancient warnings. India, one of the oldest spiritual civilizations, now faces the very dangers its ancestors predicted. The moral decline is not just a social crisis, it is a spiritual one. In each passing year, the world seems to drift closer to the warnings written thousands of years ago. The rise of chaos and the loss of inner peace. Ancient Indian wisdom teaches that the external world is a reflection of the inner world. When people lose balance within themselves, society becomes unstable. The sages of old warned that during the later phases of Kali Yuga, humanity would face increasing chaos, not just in the physical sense, but also mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. Today, India reflects this prophecy clearly. One of the earliest signs described in the scriptures is the rise of uncontrolled desires. People would constantly chase pleasure, entertainment, and personal ambition. This inner emptiness leads to frustration, stress, and aggression, emotions that shape the world around us. In modern India, anxiety, depression, and mental health struggles have become widespread. The pressure to succeed, keep up with societal expectations, and maintain an online image has created internal battles that the ancient sages predicted long ago. Another prophecy speaks of conflict becoming normal. Not just physical conflict, but emotional and ideological battles. India today experiences constant disagreements across political, religious, and social lines. The scriptures warn that society would divide itself, forming groups that fight for dominance instead of unity. Every online debate, every street protest, every heated political argument reflects this ancient warning. The texts also foretell natural imbalance, a world where humanity's disconnection from nature causes environmental chaos. In India, extreme heat waves, unpredictable rains, polluted rivers, and declining forests signal an ecological crisis. Thousands of years ago, the sages predicted that when humans disrespect nature, nature will respond in ways that force humans to rethink their actions. Today, this prophecy is no longer symbolic. It is visible. Another powerful prediction is the loss of inner peace. The ancient rishis wrote that people would forget how to sit in silence, connect with the divine, or listen to their own conscience. Life would become loud, filled with distractions, temptations, and noise. In India's cities, people are surrounded by constant movement, traffic, entertainment, technology, and stress. The mind rarely rests. The heart rarely reflects. This inner disconnection fuels external chaos. Even spirituality is affected. The text warned that rituals would be performed without meaning. People would pray, meditate, or visit temples only for material benefits, not for enlightenment or purity. This emptiness creates a spiritual desert inside individuals, making them feel restless even when they achieve everything they desire. The most striking prophecy concerns relationships. As inner peace fades, people become impatient, short-tempered, and self-centered. Friendships break easily. Marriages struggle. Communities become cold. The love that once held society together grows weaker. The scriptures describe exactly this, a world where emotional connection becomes rare. India, a land once known for its deep spiritual calm, now carries the weight of constant movement and conflict. The sages predicted this transformation with astonishing clarity. And as each generation steps into a faster, more chaotic world, the ancient warnings echo louder. The prophecy of broken leadership and the collapse of justice. Among the most striking ancient Indian prophecies is the warning about leadership. The sages wrote that during the later stages of Kali Yuga, the guardians of society, kings, rulers, judges, and law enforcers, would become corrupted. Their duty to protect the people would be replaced by selfish motives. Justice would weaken, and those in power would use their position for personal gain. Today, India reflects this prophecy with alarming accuracy. The scriptures describe leaders who speak sweet words but act with hidden agendas. This mirrors the modern pattern of political promises, flashy speeches, and election campaigns that often lead to very little change. Leaders prioritize their own careers, influence, and wealth. Public welfare becomes secondary. Scandals involving bribery, misused funds, and unethical decisions have become common, exactly as the ancient texts warned. The justice system, once considered sacred, also feels the strain. The prophecies predicted that laws would favor the rich, and the poor would struggle to find fairness. In modern India, long court delays, unequal access to legal help, and corruption have created a system where justice is often slow and uncertain. Victims wait years for verdicts. Powerful people escape punishment while the weak suffer in silence. This was foretold as one of the clearest signs of a declining age. Another prophecy speaks about violence becoming normalized. When leadership loses moral direction, society follows. Crimes increase. People lose trust in law enforcement. Fear becomes a part of everyday life. In India, rising cases of assault, mob violence, and social tensions reflect this ancient warning. The scriptures predicted that when moral foundations weaken, even small disagreements would escalate into conflict. This is now visible in road arguments, political rallies, online fights, and neighborhood disputes. The sages also warned of economic imbalance. Rulers would misuse resources, causing social and financial instability. India's widening wealth gap, where a small percentage of people own most of the resources, matches this prophecy. The poor struggle harder while the wealthy grow wealthier, creating tension and resentment. The ancient texts describe this as a sign that leadership has forgotten its cosmic duty to balance and protect society. Perhaps the most symbolic prophecy concerns the loss of wise advisors. In earlier ages, kings sought guidance from sages and scholars. But the scriptures warned that in Kali Yuga, rulers would ignore wisdom and surround themselves with people who simply agree with them. Today, decisions are often influenced by political alliances, media pressure, short-term gains, and personal interests, not by long-term wisdom. This fulfills the old prediction that leaders in the final age would act without deep insight. India, once home to leaders like Ashoka, Chanakya, and countless spiritual kings, now struggles with a leadership crisis the ancient rishis foresaw thousands of years ago. Justice bends, truth weakens, and power becomes idolized, exactly as predicted. This chapter reveals a hard truth. When leadership falls, society follows. And according to the ancient Indian prophecies, this collapse is a major signal that humanity is drifting deeper into the shadow of the age. The final warning, the world before the turning point. In ancient Indian philosophy, every prophecy comes with a deeper message. Darkness does not last forever. The scriptures warn of the world's decline, but they also describe the moment just before transformation, a point when humanity is pushed to choose between destruction and awakening. Many believe we are approaching that very phase today. The ancient Indian texts, especially the Mahabharata, Padma Purana, and Bhagavata Purana, describe a period in Kali Yuga where humanity will face its greatest challenges. These are not just physical crises, but spiritual ones. According to the sages, before the world moves into renewal, society would pass through 5 major signs. Today, all of them are becoming visible. 1. The breakdown of human unity. The scriptures say the world would become divided into countless groups. Religion would separate people. Politics would create enemies. Nations would compete for dominance. Even families would break apart. India today sees constant conflicts, caste tensions, political polarization, religious disputes, and endless social arguments. What was once a land of unity now experiences fragmentation, mirroring the prophecy perfectly. 2. The reign of false knowledge. Ancient sages warned of a time when false information would spread faster than truth. Today, social media misinformation, rumors, conspiracy theories, and manipulated news dominate conversations. Many people believe lies because they are louder, not because they are true. This blindness was described thousands of years ago as a sign of spiritual darkness. 3. Technology advancing faster than humanity's wisdom. The texts never spoke of technology directly, but they warned that humans would gain power without maturity. India's rapid growth, AI, digital networks, powerful machines, surveillance systems, gives people tools that ancient civilizations could not imagine. But the sages said this would create imbalance. Humans would gain external power, but lose internal wisdom. Technology grows, but humanity's heart shrinks. 4. Nature's retaliation. The ancient prophecies warned that the earth would respond to humanity's greed. Floods, droughts, earthquakes, crop failures. These were not punishments, but reflections of human behavior. Today, India faces severe climate shifts, deadly heat waves, water shortages, extreme rainfall, dying rivers like the Yamuna and Ganga. These match the warnings that nature itself would shake humanity awake. 5. A hidden spiritual hunger. The most surprising prophecy is not destruction. It is the silent longing that people would feel. The scriptures say that even while society collapses, millions will begin to search for truth again. They will feel an emptiness that material success cannot fill. This is visible across India today. Young people learning meditation, returning to scriptures, practicing yoga, seeking purpose, exploring spirituality beyond rituals. The ancient rishis predicted that before a great transformation, humans would feel lost, not because the world is ending, but because the soul is waking up. The turning point. According to the prophecies, the darkest moment is not a punishment. It is the preparation for renewal. When society becomes unstable, when truth becomes rare, when injustice becomes normal, a new wave of spiritual awakening begins. Many believe we are close to this turning point now. India's ancient wisdom suggests that humanity is being pushed toward a choice: continue into deeper darkness, or rise into a new age of awareness. The sages were clear. Kali Yuga ends not when the world dies, but when the human spirit remembers who it truly is. The return of light, India's role in the coming awakening. Ancient Indian prophecies do not end with destruction. They end with hope. The sages who wrote about the fall of humanity also wrote about its rise. They believed that India, the land of seekers and saints, would play a powerful role in humanity's spiritual rebirth. This final chapter explores that prophecy, the moment when the darkness of Kali Yuga begins to fade and the world slowly turns toward light again. 1. The rise of a new consciousness. According to the Bhagavata Purana, the end of Kali Yuga is marked by a slow but undeniable shift in human awareness. People begin to question materialism, ego, and corruption. They start searching for deeper truth, not in temples and rituals alone, but within themselves. Today, this shift is already visible in India. Millions meditating and practicing yoga. Youth rejecting blind tradition and exploring real spirituality. A growing interest in ancient scriptures and philosophies. A desire for simplicity, balance, and mental peace. These signs match the prophecy of a new consciousness rising before the world transforms. 2. India as the torchbearer of spiritual knowledge. The sages predicted that India would not dominate the world through power or wealth, but through wisdom. When the world becomes confused, India's ancient spiritual teachings, about karma, dharma, meditation, and oneness, which spread globally. This is happening today. Yoga is practiced in almost every country. Indian philosophy influences science, psychology, and wellness. Global leaders look to India for spiritual guidance. Ancient texts like the Bhagavad Gita are studied worldwide. The prophecy suggests that when humanity loses its way, India's wisdom becomes the bridge back to harmony. 3. The collapse of false spirituality. In the darkest phase of Kali Yuga, the scriptures say that false gurus, fake prophets, and spiritual businessmen would rise, but eventually they would fall. Their influence would weaken as people learn to recognize truth from deception. Today, India sees exactly this pattern. Fraudulent spiritual leaders being exposed. People demanding transparency and real teachings. A return to the pure, ancient traditions. Less dependency on miracle claims, more focus on inner growth. The prophecy says this cleansing is necessary before spiritual awakening can begin. 4. The rebirth of Dharma. The ancient texts describe a time when Dharma begins to rise again, slowly but steadily. Not through governments, religions, or institutions, but through individuals who choose truth over lies, compassion over cruelty, and wisdom over greed. India's youth are already changing the narrative, choosing kindness and mental health, fighting corruption through activism, embracing sustainability and protecting nature, supporting equality and justice. The sages predicted that when the new generation awakens, society shifts and the world begins to heal. 5. The arrival of a guiding force. Many Indian prophecies speak of a future leader, not a king, not a warrior, but a guiding force who inspires the world spiritually. Some texts describe this as the coming of Kalki, the final avatar of Vishnu, who restores balance and truth. But the deeper interpretation suggests that Kalki may not be a single person. It may be a consciousness, a movement, a wave of awakened souls who transform the world from within. Today, millions are waking up spiritually. Millions more are questioning the world around them. This collective awakening may be the very force the sages predicted. 6. The dawn after the darkness. The scriptures say that after the storm, humanity enters a new period of clarity, a time when unity, peace, and spiritual wisdom become important again. This does not mean the world will become perfect, but it means the world will remember its direction. India's prophecy is not about the end of the world. It is about the end of ignorance. It is about the return of light after centuries of confusion. It is about humanity remembering its soul. The ancient sages believed the human spirit could fall, but they also believed it would rise again, brighter than before. The wisdom that can save the world. In the heart of India's ancient scriptures lies a truth older than empires, older than nations, older than the very idea of time. Humanity is never truly lost. It only forgets its path. For thousands of years, sages, yogis, and philosophers warned about the age we are living in today. They spoke not with fear, but with clarity. They understood that darkness is not the enemy. It is the teacher. It reveals what humanity must correct within itself. We have seen how their prophecies are unfolding. The moral decline, the confusion of truth, the collapse of justice, the rise of chaos, the spiritual hunger, and finally, the beginning of awakening. India, a land shaped by meditation, sacrifice, and cosmic vision, carries the blueprint for humanity's return to balance. Its ancient wisdom is not just religion. It is psychology. It is philosophy. It is science of the soul. And in a world that is losing direction, these teachings become more relevant than ever. The sages were clear. Kali Yuga is not the destruction of the world. It is the destruction of ignorance. It is the age when humanity must look in the mirror and decide what it wants to become. An age where every individual, not just leaders, carries the responsibility of choosing truth over lies, compassion over cruelty, and awareness over blind desire. The world outside can be saved only when the world inside is healed. This documentary has explored warnings, prophecies, and signs. But the true message is this: the light that will guide the future is already within every human being. In every choice to be kind, in every moment of honesty, in every act of courage, in every step toward inner peace. India's ancient prophecy ends with hope that after centuries of struggle, humanity will remember its divine nature, that the world will rise not through power, but through wisdom, and that every generation will carry the flame further until the darkness fades completely. The sages believed in humanity. And now, in this time of confusion, humanity must believe in itself. The next age will not be born from the sky. It will be born from us.